We do. Guys, if you know me, you know I'm always on time, unlike some of these guys. Guys, so we'll come to episode 28. Before we get started, this is an answer to Paulo. I sent him a short clip. He had a question on the guillotine grip. He got the guillotine DVD, and he wanted a clarification. I believe Paulo is from UK, but guys, when you do, for my shell guillotine, right, the Fox style guillotine, whatever you want to do it, make sure that first of all you make it a V with your wrist, okay? So his trachea is here. You're not crushing the trachea. One carotid is covered by the forearm, the other one by the fat part of the thumb. Now, here's what a lot of people do. They can't bend their wrist, which, you know, this is probably the maximum I can bend it. But watch what happens to the rest of the arm. So when you get this grip underneath, like a chin strand grip, this is the adjustment you make. So as you grab your hand, you're gonna turn it up. And you can see how everything starts to cinch up. So shoulder goes forward, elbow goes back, and this is where the tightness is. So basically, if the guy's head or back of the neck was not here, you could literally see your nails. All right, so again, you get a grip, chin strap grip. When I'm ready to apply the pressure, I start to turn my hand. So you don't have to have extreme flexibility in your wrist. You just need to sort of turn it up so you can see how everything tightens up and the hole gets small. Guys, don't forget, when you're choking, strangling people, the key is not power. The key is to make that hole as small as possible. All right? So let's get started. So that's, I want to go over a topic before we get, to questions. So guys, start asking questions. The more specific you are, the more likely you're going to get your question answered. Guys, there's a lot of episodes. Probably by now, we're approaching close to 150 episodes. Plus other stuff that I've done with Fear as a Hobby, or other stuff we've done before. And Adolfo Ferronda, a longtime viewer, has been nice enough to make an index. It's on episode 50, but the index is available to anybody, and it takes you directly to that episode. But don't forget, you need to have the app. So I can't access it because I had the app, I hated it, I deleted it, so I go through the browser now. But you need to have the app. So guys, one of the concepts I advocate very, very strongly is the idea of not trying to force a technique. And it just reminded me this past Tuesday, I had two of my students, kind of, relatively new guy. One was blue belt, one is, maybe 6 month, 9 month white belt. And one of them got caught on the bottom in a kimura. And both being pretty big, strong guys, this is what happened. And this is even worse with the gi. So turn this way. So it was like this. The guy was holding on to the gi, and the guy just kept ripping. And it just was not happening. So, long story short, he sort of got frustrated, tried to change, and then next thing you know, the guy on the bottom escaped. So, I asked the guys, I said, hey, who do you think's stronger, you or me? And they don't want to answer. They know the answer, but they don't want to answer. So, what happens when you're defending a kimura? You're basically defending the shoulder and the forearm. Sort of, this is where the most engagement is, at the shoulder and the forearm. Because basically that's, once it goes, that's where the submission goes on a kimura is shoulder. So instead of, fighting, I will, even if with the gi, if the guy holds on, I will try to pull. If it's not happening, I put my weight forward, pop up, and now it flies. Even a way, way, way bigger guy, because now the pressure starts to go into the elbow, which was previously unprotected. So again, this illustrates heavily the concept of sometimes people just get blinds on like the horses, and just kind of, this is what I decided to take, and you insist on it even if it's no longer there, or possibility of you finishing is marginal, and in the process you lose the other possibilities. So when you're in a kimura, possibility, and this is probably even more so than with the gi. But even no gi, you got a strong guy, you're gonna have a hard time ripping this off. So put your weight forward, pop up, and take the elbow. It's going to be a lot easier even if the guy is way stronger. So that's, don't forget that, guys. That's a very important concept. And especially, in the early stages, it's kind of difficult because you don't have a big toolbox and you don't see a lot of things. But as you progress through the ranks of jiu-jitsu, it's very important for you to pay attention to see what is available. It's the same thing in every martial art. If the guy's jabbing, and the guy's slipping, uppercut, look at Renzo Gracie, I think recently finished a guy in Bellator exactly with that, just went after him and the guy slipped and he cracked him with a beautiful uppercut and it was all over. It's the same thing with jiu-jitsu. As you progress, and you have bigger toolbox and things start to make more sense, don't forget to also pay attention, okay, he's defending this, what else is available? That's where flow rolling comes in really handy. Mike, what do we got?
JCB Paris is saying, hello all, I have an issue when I sit on the ground and the opponent is standing up and he passes my guard just by simply falling on me. How can I address this basic guard pass?
Say it again. So
it's sitting, opponent standing, they fall on them and pass the guard.
Enrique and I just trained for an hour, so
I don't know what he means by folding.
If that helps, we talking he goes forward or he just kind of like, yeah, it's okay, don't worry. So or the guy kind of just cuts an angle and just kind of drops it on you. So the first one, if the guy starts to, so if this happens, you just get an underhook, right? So you need to get a strong underhook. Even if you get flattened, apply the pressure, you can sort of start to turn. All right, so if he just falls forward and kind of flattens you out, you still have a chance. Now, if it's the other one, so maybe while we're doing this, so if you just, you're standing. So anytime you need to just kind of get out of the way. Before he falls, most people need to kind of put their hands, so yeah, I try to control the hand that's closer to me. This is going to be very difficult for him. I'm not going to stay like this. I keep squaring up to him. And at some point, I'm going to come up. So you need to sort of be a little bit more engaged. I don't know which one of these it is.
He said, fall on the side when standing up.
You may have to send us a short clip on that. But when you're sitting up, if say you're sitting up, yeah, I'm having a hard time envisioning what. So go ahead, no, just stop screwing around. So just kind of drop it on. When that happens, what I'm looking to do is start to defend. All right. So immediately, if your guard gets passed, immediately start into defensive mode. There's still a period between a guard pass, whether it's a fall or whether it's an actually over under guard pass, double under guard pass, Torando pass, whatever guard pass there is. There's a split second chance that you have as he's coming through before he settles down and starts hunting for your limbs, where you have a chance to sort of start to establish grips and try to start escaping in that transition. So I can't envision exactly what he's doing, but it doesn't matter. The idea still applies. So if you just kind of I'm looking to possibly turtle up. Also, if he shoves my legs, control his left arm in this case, try to square up, and now we go into offensive mode. So again, if he kind of goes over under, attack the head. So there's a lot of things you could possibly do. If you don't have any immediate attack where you immediately go into an offensive mode, so if Enrique passes my guard, I'm already thinking where my grips go. Let's do it again. Face it. You're gonna face the camera. So watch as Enrique passes my guard. I'm already trying to get I know he's past my hips. I'm already looking for possible escape routes. All right, so I immediately, as I, accept the fact that, so there's such a thing as when he gets past your hips, initially past your knees, past your hips, regardless how he passes, you have to accept the fact he's kind of past your guard and I'm going into a mode of, okay, I need to deal with top side control before he settles down on you. So you accept the fact, but don't sort of have a disappointment. That moment you can have later. Because if you accept the fact and then you go to, crap, that is, when you have that disappointment moment, that's when he settles down, he starts to put his hands, arms in places to start attacking submissions, possibly knee on the belly, take your back. So you have to, again, sometimes things happen that you're not happy about, but make sure that you continue on that defensive, immediately go into defensive mode, and once you turn the tide, you go into an offensive mode, all right? So again, let's look at it. So Enrique passes my guard, however he chooses. So a lot of times, go ahead. Yeah, I'm already looking for my grips before he solidifies them. Yeah, I know. So anytime you start to do things they don't like, they start to back away. So even if though you may not get the submission, they're backing away. Now you regard. So I hope that provides some answer. Like I said, if you can have one of your friends, don't send me a 45-minute video, but if you send me a short clip, maybe we can provide a better answer next time.
Short is not 44 either. Keep it under 3 minutes.
He said, okay, I understand. Thanks a lot. And we have from George Garcia. I'm an owner of 2 Fox Instructionals. Greatly appreciated in the RGV in South Texas. Love all of your content.
Thank you. I appreciate it. We always appreciate our reviews too. And happy birthday, Byron.
And Adolfo Ferranda is asking, Fox, can you show the details of that old school arm lock when the guy on top gets double unders on your legs? I've got the sleeve and put a foot across, but he wasn't tapping and it didn't feel right.
Yeah, this is hard. I've gotten it on the high level black belts once.
No, I think he talks about the shoulder lock that you have high level.
Oh,
Not the one where you invert. That's not old school.
that's new school?
Yes.
Okay, so what Enrique was, go. Yeah, no, I know, but just pop. So what I thought is you meant this one.
No, I think that's unique to you.
Yeah.
All right. So I
It's
guess
old school to you.
so when a guy goes double under, first thing first, you got to make sure your legs are heavy. So you don't want to drop him all the way. You don't want to allow him to connect his hands. So open as wide as you possibly can. Now I'm going to put my foot on the hip, and I'm going to lift my hips and weave either side to the far side hip. Okay? Now, the biggest mistake that people make, I'm going to do it on this side. You can choose whichever side. It's as you applying pressure, letting go of the wrist. I actually actively pull the wrist and straighten out
Tap.
my leg. So I'm going to do it again. I just need to get rid of the numb feelings of my legs. Now, you have to catch the guy early. Sometimes this is present when, you play good guard and the guy's getting frustrated and he drops in low and still a little bit far away. Once he starts to lift your hips off the ground, this is not going to be possible. Now, one thing that also that happens is, so as I keep my legs heavy, weave all the way through to the other side. I'm going to do it from the other side. So my ankle is anchored on his left hip, and then I just stretch slow.
Tap.
Now, if you have somebody super flexible, this is what's going to happen. They're going to wind up literally sweeping themselves, and then you just kind of, battle from top. So if you got somebody super flexible, Mike is pretty flexible, but he will tap on this. But there's some people that are slightly more flexible than him, that it's just, they feel the pain. They feel the pain, and they go with the pain, so they literally sweep themselves. So I'm going to show you again where you weave. So again, it has to be relatively low. I block, foot on the hip, other foot goes all the way to the far side hip. I anchor, so I'm flexing, and now, so I'm staying on his hip, so my right foot, my right instep is on his hip, and I just slowly stretch out.
Tap.
All right. So,
And Gilbert Lopez is asking, are you making your legs heavy by holding your hips down?
no, I actually lift. So there's a couple of ways to make your legs heavy. So, again, I lift my hips a little bit and I try to open them. So as you, basically, my hips are up. If I drop my hips, my legs become light. All right. You can sometimes, if the guy gets it, you can sort of back pedal on your shoulders until I can get my foot on the hip, and now I weave.
Tap.
So yeah, you have to. So there's you plank basically. We do this with the Hiva entries. Again. So when I do this, my hips become very heavy. So I'm transitioning most of my body weight into sort of my legs and my hips. So he has to carry. It's not impossible, but he has to carry a lot of weight. So it's gonna take. He has to kind of like try to get under, and that buys you time.
And we have Angsberg asking, can you show what you tend to do when bottom side control and you get a far side underhook? I know you tend to fall back to guard, and I just tend to get DARCE from there.
Oh, okay, yeah, that's a good question. Really good question. So, a lot of times I get the far side underhook. All right, which in this case on my left side. So the problem is, he needs to get to a certain point to start to collapse my arm. So when I do this, I try to flare out my elbow. So you can see that the distance for Enrique to cover it, he can't quite connect. If I bring my hand close to his legs or close to his hips, he can connect. So my first line of defense is to flare my arm out. If it starts to get collapsed, I'm bracing it with my left leg. So it's not that easy to collapse. Here, it's going to start to collapse. So again, I know that the DARCE is a possibility there. So basically, I flare out my left elbow, and I'm trying to push him not to the side, but up in this direction towards the camera. Because now, look how this is going to be very difficult for Enrique to connect. Now, if he starts to collapse it, I bring my left leg to brace it to make sure it doesn't break down that easily. Now, if I start to feel that it's coming, what I'm going to try to do is frame and change direction. So again, this is one of those things that if you are aware of the attacks, you can kind of stop them. If you got a guy that's really strong, you may not necessarily stop. So if that happens, so I think we covered this. So I get an underhook, and I'm trying, yeah, he starts to collapse. What I'm going to try to do is come out to the other to the other hip, and try to go flat. So the reality is if I can come out, that's great, but if I can't, at least I need to defend the DARCE. Oh, are we doing this? So again, knowing what the possible dangers are, I start to counter them before they actually become a real danger. So again, couple ways to mitigate that risk. So as Enrique passes my guard, I'm gonna get an underhook. I keep my left arm, my tricep, as high as possible, and I try to move him towards the camera. I brace it with my leg. Should that start to break down, I'm going into frame and try to get my legs in. If I fail and he starts to lock it up, I'm gonna go, my right hand goes to the far side hip and I'm going flat. That takes away the DARCE. Now, obviously I have to deal with the position, but that's okay now. It buys me time, that I can do stuff with.
And last one before we close out, Angsberg and also Sea-Dog is having the same issue from bottom of half guard, how to avoid the DARCE
Bottom of the half guard.
when they're getting the underhook from bottom half.
It's the same. It's kind of a similar response, So again, if I'm bottom of half guard, if you start to frame out, that helps keep him away from you. But if you play bottom of half guard, again, yeah, this is going to be hard. because you know you're carrying his weight. Okay, if I feel that happening, you know, usually I go immediately into defense mode. So my right hand goes from framing out to the far side leg. I try to swing my left arm underneath his chest before it settles down, and now I'm going to battle from bottom side control. Again, this is one of the reasons why I don't play necessarily bottom half guard is, you know, I got a scrawny neck, so if somebody is able to wrap their arm, even if they don't have a good positioning, they can sometimes force it. So you could always try to extract that arm. That's the first line of defense. So as I just extract it. All right. Now, should that arm become trapped, again, I will try to get it out and start to frame up. Once I can't, I'm going into defensive mode immediately. Let's do it from this side. So it starts to get collapsed. Now, there is no threat until he gets this hand back. So that's, now, as he starts to get through my guard, I'm going to try to bring my legs in. If I can bring at least one shin in, I can stop it. Should he break through all the way, my right hand is going to go to the far side hip, and I'm going to start to pivot. I swim under his torso, and now, you know, he's on top side control, but at least, you know, I didn't get finished. You live to fight another day. So, again, you know, there's some guys that are flexible and have really good necks that are happy to play bottom half guard. For me, I view it more as a transitory position where I'm going to try to, you know, some guys do really, really well with this. You know, they frame well, they go under. So if you're framing, he can't get it. But if you go get an underhook, try to go to the back. Also, when you're looking for that underhook, don't look for it to, you know, whether it's half guard or, so don't look for it to, this is a little too, doesn't mean a whole lot. He's starting to squash it right now. So I'm looking for it a little bit. Yeah, when I think my leg can slip through and I can give him a little bit of a push forward. If I can, I'm going to try to come out at all times, kind of keeping my left elbow flared out, because if you keep it flared out, then he has to cover a bigger distance, so it's going to be hard for him to lock up his arms. If you cannot lock up his arms, you can escape. But once the arms get locked up, now that structure is very strong, and then it becomes very difficult to deal with. And just like that, we're out of time. All right, guys, we'll see you next week, next Friday, 22nd, I think, yes. Episode 29. See how my numbers are coming back? All right, guys, see you next week.